Welcome everyone to Nations Royale. I'm Toby, joined by Saint, and we are about to end up 2 times best of 5s. As you saw just before, it's going to be great. It's going to be LATAM, and from what we've seen already, both in the Asian and earlier today in the European part of it, there are some pretty spicy circles sitting those maps today. We've had people maneuver all the way around the map on pretty much all maps, and to be fair, we've seen both teams win because of the circles, and we've seen teams win because they didn't care about the circle. So what are we going to see today here, Luke?
Well, we saw in the Hungary-Poland match where Hungary just got that military shift and they just sat there and just locked Poland out of the circle. And then later on, when Hungary faced Russia, they had the entirety of the circle and Russia just walked through them. So I think we're looking at which team can play the best, but also which team can maximize their firepower, can bring their best players into that gunfight and make sure that they're having an impact on the game tonight.
Yeah, couldn't agree more. And as you can see down on the bottom of your screens, Peru versus Paraguay is where we're going to start things off. Erangel, Miramar, Sanak, Bekendi, Erangel. It's not just a random order. No, the teams, they vetoed, they banned and picked which ones they wanted to play. So they are the ones who has come up with the map order. It is a best of 5, so potentially should we see a 3-0, and these 3 is the place to go, and then they will be headed on to the next round. We'll be showing the brackets in just a short time. But any if you were well, you know what, actually let's take a look at the bracket right now. Here you have them. So the upper bracket, Chile and Mexico. The winner of that game will go up against Brazil, and then as you can see here, the winner of the game we're covering right now, Peru and Paraguay, that will be up against Argentina. That, my friends, is going to be a tough opponent to beat.
Yeah, Brazil grand finalists last time out against USA, who they did lose to, but Argentina also made it through to the semi-finals. So those two teams getting that bye due to their performance in Nations Royale Season 2. But Peru was actually one of the teams that made it to the quarterfinals last time. And I believe this is Paraguay's first time coming up in Nations Royale. So a bit of an unknown matchup. We have a team that did quite well last time versus a team we've never seen before. So I'm quite excited to see whether Paraguay can turn up and maybe present a bit of an upset.
Yeah, there's a chance. Or there's a will, there's a way, or at least there's a there's something that could look like a way, because we saw. I feel like one of the storylines for what we've been covering today already is that it's not enough to have a good idea. You also have to be able to execute it.
Yeah, you need both.
Yeah, exactly. And I feel like we saw a lot of kind of attempts to go out and do something that just never really pulled through.
Yeah, I mean, we go back to that Hungary and Poland game where Hungary's strategy was so much better, and the fact that the sort of the gun skill between the two teams was fairly similar meant that strategy allowed Hungary to go through. But that same strategy just didn't work against Russia because Russia was so much stronger in the gunfights. And I expect that's something we're going to see tonight. Maybe Brazil and Argentina, being more established regions in PUBG, should be able to get through the round based off their gun skill alone. But if Peru can get to that, they get to that next round, if they can turn up with some really good strategies, or even Paraguay do the same, who's to say who will win the maps? We saw Hungary did get a map purely off their strategy in the end.
Yeah, exactly. It's not always, as we said earlier as well, it's not always that it's the circles that are the deciding factor. It's how can you outsmart your opponents. And I like to see how different teams have different strategies in terms of, are we just going to do it, I guess you could say more the Russian style of just, we don't care where you are, we will run you down and kill you? Or is it more of the trying to do different flanks around, trying to spread out more? But just keep in mind, the more you start splitting, the better your communication have to be. And there seemed to be moments for Hungary where, again, they had the strategies to spread out. It was all well coordinated initially, but once the fights happened, you could just tell that they were all over the place and the communication wasn't there.
Yeah, and I think that's something we might see a little bit more tonight, because some of these American teams are not that established in terms of their competitive experience, right? Obviously, they have their domestic tournaments, the LATAM tournaments, but there are very few teams from Peru, from Paraguay that have ever made it to an international level, right? So I think in these initial rounds, we're going to see a bit more of a loose style, let's call it, a bit more of, if one team can punish the mistakes of the other one, because I do expect we'll see some mistakes come out from these sort of teams. The team that's able to punish those mistakes is the one that's going to be successful.
You'd have to think so. And also, I guess we can say to some extent, I feel like at least the teams that get off to the best start, and I'm not saying getting ahead 1-0 in maps, in each individual map, if you can get those 3 or 4 kills before the other team really gets anything going, those 4 players going into going your way before the fight, we can call the actual fight, really happens, that can really be a big difference maker.
Yeah, the game generally plays out in Nations Royale, where the first 3 phases are a slow move. Everyone's rotating around each other and trying not to take gunfights. You see the sporadic, 1v1, 1v2 here or there. But generally speaking, you get to that phase 3, and then it starts to pick up the pace. It starts to ramp up into this one big crescendo of just one massive gunfight. And whichever team can get into that big gunfight with a 1, 2, maybe even 3-player advantage, generally speaking, they're the one that wins it out. But we have seen a few comebacks. We saw Thailand on day 1 in the SEA games, where they had 6-kill deficit and they brought it back and won the game. So it's not all about that advantage, but it is really important, and it does definitely have a big effect on your ability to win the round.
For sure. Now we are headed over to Wrangle to start off with. Again, you can see it just below. You can see the map order and who's playing, should you be confused. And I think we've learned the lesson already, having only seen it happen once. If you're playing a Wrangle, you want to have, if not some sort of Sosnovka military island control, then have a clear idea of, should the circle go there, how do you get there? Because what we saw with Hungary is it's so easy, if one team is allowed to take full control, to just completely and utterly keep the other team out.
Yeah, I think your game plan has to be that you get control of one of the bridges, or you get control of either the main military base or that Novo area. And you don't necessarily need to have the edge of the bridges at the start. But if you do get both teams, or one team set up on both bridges, it's just impossible to cross. There's not much you can do. You need to send some special forces to the sea. You need some scuba gear really to try and avoid getting shot out of the water and get across, and then maybe you can ambush.
Exactly. Let's hop on over and take a look at the rosters, and I'll let you, for now, Saint, take us through exactly what you think of that.
Well, both teams, realistically, there's not people in here we recognize from international tournaments, and I must be honest, I don't watch much LATAM, but I do see a lot of tags, a lot of clan tags or team tags. So that does suggest to me that Peru has a few more players that are playing more consistently at a competitive level, because they have at least changed their name so they have the tournament tags. But it looks like either Paraguay's going to have 31, or we just don't know who the 32nd player is. I think game one's really going to...
That's the Joker up their sleeve,
They've got a wild player that they just throw in. Some berserker, like the Lord of the Rings, the guy that runs into the wall.
Also from Peru, it's not Tickleton in number 19, it's Ticklent.
Tigland. I'm no idea how I'm going to pronounce that, but we'll cross that bridge when we come to it.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see. Maybe he can live up to the hype of the other player who has a very similar name, but I'm very sure that he's an NA player and not a LATAM player.
And I think game one's really going to set the tone for what we're going to see over this best of 5. Right, this is going to show which players are going to have the impact for their team. It's going to show, is Peru, with that more experience playing competitively, are they the one that are just going to win this out, or has Paraguay got an ace up their sleeve?
That is an interesting playing path to start things up. As you can see, we do have a team jumped out immediately. No, I mean, this is actually the most split we've seen anything today.
Yeah, we saw
always
teams
been
dropping
some
on top
sort
of
of
each other.
tankle on top of each other. Here, nope, not at all. They're just, one team has a very, very clear military control. Let's see if that's going to pay out.
Yeah, and that means if they do get that military shift, I mean, how does Peru get there? I don't see a way that they can just get onto the island. So they're kind of relying on that, not going towards the military circle. But it is an esports setting, so the military shift is less likely than we usually see in tournaments.
That's exactly it. I want to see Stalpa circle. Just force everyone. I want to see a first circle that doesn't have any players inside it. Just for the sake of, that's as fair as can be. I guess from where they're split right now, that would be a circle that's centered somewhere around Yasnaya. I'm just trying
to think, what would be the most chaotic circle you can have? I'm thinking maybe ending in Milta Power, but we see for now
something with a lot of fields.
Yeah, it looks like we're going to go to Ferry Fields. We saw this pretty much similar circle in Thailand versus Cambodia, and Thailand got control of that field. There's pretty much bang center in the circle so far. That's perfect. This field right here, they got all those jacks. They got the compound and the northern hill, and Cambodia just couldn't get in. They just got completely locked out of the circle, and it ended up, I think, 27-0. So I want to see one team get control of not necessarily the shack straight away, but as long as they have the hills around, as long as they have that rotation that they can do, this hill in particular and this compound is going to be crucial to see your success in this game.
You would have to think so. No one's opted to take control of it yet, but I would assume to see people start making their way down to this territory at some point real soon. Now, for those of you guys who might be confused as to, oh my god, that first circle ain't as big as it's supposed to be, we are not following the settings in this tournament by any means. We are doing it quite differently.
Yeah, the settings are much closer to publics than to tournament settings. So yeah, I'm not sure exactly the changes, but I know the circles are slightly faster. They're slightly smaller than we get in public settings to really push you towards that climax that we were talking about being the the crazy point of the game, the point where the damage and destruction maximizes. Generally speaking, you look at sort of that 4th, 5th shift. Right?
It just forces people to fight earlier. I think that's pretty. That's an easy way to say it.
And it also means, generally speaking, the game's going to be like 10, 15 minutes long, unless you get those little slogfests. We saw a couple ones in SEA where it went right down to the wire, and we saw that one on Sanok between, I think it was Hungary and Poland, where it went down to like the last 10 players. And those really close games can be so much fun to watch, because you generally speaking, you have one epicenter of the fight. You have like a building or a little compound where everyone is fighting and pushing and trying so hard to take control of it, and you end up with like 40, maybe even 50 people dying in the same place.
Exactly. Just give me one moment here. I'm trying to make sure that I can get... Do you have audio on the clean feed?
Yes, I do. So
you do? Okay, I do not. I'm trying.
Have you got it muted?
Maybe. I shouldn't. I shouldn't have it muted. It doesn't say that it's muted. But it's all good. It's all good. It's just me. I mean,
at least you got the feed. If you didn't have a video, it'd be a bit more difficult.
Anything that hasn't been completely fluent over the last couple of podcasts, I don't know, but I've always been like, was it Toby's fault? Yeah, it probably was Toby's fault. So I'll take that on my shoulders. Whatever may happen is probably just my fault. But as you can see, Peru, they're getting themselves looted up. They have they don't have the longest journey ahead of them, just getting themselves looted. And as you can see as well here, Paraguay, they're making that transition over, and I like that. Don't want to risk getting caught and trying to move from Sosnovka over to the main island.
And a little bit of a coincidental advantage that you have by going onto this military island is it's kind of encouraging them to go towards that hill that we were saying was so important. Paraguay already have control of this little compound that we said was so important. And the fact that they're now rotating on that western bridge means that, generally speaking, going to stack up on this area. And I do think it is a key to success, not necessarily just to have that specific compound, but to have at least some sort of route into that field if the circle does go there is going to be so important to your late game.
Couldn't agree anymore. It's especially if the circle is forcing everyone out into the fields. It's just, I mean, you know what I would actually love to see? If you're already now in a position where you can kind of claim certain areas around those fields, just take your cars, start driving around and destroying hay bales. Be like, you know what? You shall have no cover in the open. Just start driving right now and destroy hay bales just because you can. I mean, keep a certain amount of players safe in those positions you want to guard, and then just ruin every opportunity for others to get anything afterwards.
So those hay bales are the bane of my life. Whenever I'm on Miramar, I always forget that they're not the same hay bales. I start trying to run through them, and then like you get take the damage to destroy your car every time. But yeah, I mean, on an angle you can destroy them. You can deny that cover, but there is also there's a lot of shacks. There's a lot of dips in that field, right? So it might be smart maybe to take over the sort of the stronger ones. Just in case it does go to that field. But yes, there is that risk of losing your cars. But if you have like a bike and you can get it into the shack, maybe you want to go to those shacks in the field early just to make sure that the other team can't get there.
Yeah, let's see now. I like how Peru not taking any chances, playing it smart and safe to make sure that they ain't going to be surprised by no one. Because, I mean, when you're playing the normal squad, you'll stop and you'll look around. Oh, that's... Oh, saved it. Easy. Calculated. Maths. Yep, all good.
Basically, they're in a James Bond trying to go for the record barrel roll attempt. No harm done in the end. They can get to the circle. Talking of harm done, though, the Peruvians seem to be running each other over, which is, I would say, suboptimal is definitely the way to describe killing your teammates.
Good word. Suboptimal. That is not what you're looking to do, that's for sure. In those situations, you can see Bio, the official timekeeper of GLL Nations Royale, and time is surely something you want to keep in mind. Look at the circle control right now. Hello. Doesn't matter though. Paraguay has it shifting down towards them, and all of a sudden that field is starting to look pretty damn big.
Yeah, and I want to see a couple of these Peruvians get into the shacks, get down there and just take control of it, because the circle's going to end somewhere around there. Like, it has to go towards that area of the map. And if Paraguay can just take full control, can just lock you out, there's not really much you're going to be able to do about it. So they need to start getting a bit proactive to start taking those sort of aggressive is the wrong word, but like more forward positions into the center of the map.
Let's see. This field is... I mean, to be fair, it's better now than what it was, but it's still very, very far from friendly. Especially if you have a team of 30 players sitting and shooting at you while you're out there.
And it looks like Peru is starting to move down into it now to take over at least the first few ridges. They're not necessarily going to commit all the way, particularly on the sort of northwestern side of the field. There's like a really big ridge you can play around. You can put like 5-6 players there pretty easily. And it gives you a really good position, because obviously your back's clear, right? You can't play it in like a traditional squads format. But because your back's clear, that entire ridge is playable. And it looks like Peru's definitely recognized that, but this might be a mistake. They're going to crash straight into a stronghold for Paraguay.
There's
France
a chance for a fight escalating here. We haven't really seen any engagement so far, but this push down towards the forest seems like it for sure will cause some sort of chaos. Nope, it forces all the Peruvians to just 180 and get the hell out of there.
You get the hell out of Dodge right now, but there's a little bit of a scouting. They at least stopped first, right? I was kind of nervous that they were just going to crash straight in. They were just going to drive in and lose like 5 players off the rip. But it looked like they put up. But actually, it looks like Arctic wants to get involved.
There's no reason not to. 2v30. I've seen bigger fights happen. Let's see. Next circle could be very telling of how this one is going to turn out. Oh my lord! There's actually not a single Peruvian player inside this circle. That's gonna be tough. What do you do if you're Peru here? Where do you push? Where do you rotate?
I think you just have to take the field, right? You just have to stack your hopes on that field, because you can't take control of the hill. The crater, the cratered area on the western edge is taken already by Paraguay. The compound's taken. Like the whole south side of that circle is just unplayable for you. But the circle's going to come relatively north, right? It should come towards this area that we're looking at now. So if you take control of that field, at the worst, you're going to have like 15 players into the late game. You might lose a few players doing it, but if you're scared of losing a few players, like, you might as well not be playing Nations Royale, because you're going to lose half your team in most games.
Oh yeah, if not even more than that. I've literally seen I think the record I've seen is a team surviving with 2 players.
Yeah, I think we had one in SEA. There was 5, I think, with time limited by 5. But that's the closest we've seen this time around. And finally, Peru was going for those shacks. Luckily for them, Paraguay didn't get there first, so they at least have these control. And that ridge I was talking about being pretty strong where France is. It's a nice little place, and you can move between the ridges. You have this one, you have the next ridge here to the right.
Yeah, true.
And that little shack. So it's a nice little spot. It's not amazing. It's not as good as a compound. It's better than nothing. Yeah. When you're in a field and you have a ridge.
Exactly. If you can keep your vehicles functional as well, I think that's gonna get you along. But as you can see now, Jen, he's feeling the hurt of being forced into that field. Now he does get picked up. Gotta get away fast. But to be fair, I mean, if you can get a somewhat aggressive position in the field, that seems like someone who's having a ping issue. If you can get a somewhat aggressive position in the field, then you might just be able to, with a good next circle shift, you can do something.
The crash.
There's no field play here. They're all sending it up to the compound. Peru wants the building.
And it looks like they're just going to have overwhelming numbers, but they're running each other over. Oh no, they've got 2 knocks. I think they should be able to get them up, and the overwhelming numbers should come in to help out Peru, but this is getting very messy.
Very messy indeed. Let's see how this one is going to pan out. I'm seeing kills all over the place. It's going back and forth. A lot of knocks, not so many flushes yet. And you can see all the Peruvian players from outside have a perfect position to try and beat them on the west side. They need to get inside towards that shack. And as you can see right now, there is so many people on top of each other. It's insane.
All those people on the hills are just shooting down into Peru. But they have managed to get a little foothold. They've got the warehouse. It's better than nothing. But Paraguay is just starting to collapse now. And I think that high ground cover is really going to come into Paraguay. It basically means Peru has to sit inside this warehouse. And once you get close enough, you can just start nading in like this. You're going to get a lot of knocks.
Yep, also on your teammates. I'm seeing a whole hell of a lot of team damage being done, and that's of course far from optimal. But when everyone is on top of each other like this, it's gotta, I mean, here, it's gonna happen. It's gonna happen. I've always wondered, like in old medieval wars, when there's like 10,000 people against each other, how the hell does one or two not accidentally kill one another?
Well, there was a battle where the Austrian army fought itself and lost like 30,000 people in history. So it is a pretty traditional part of combat. But it looks like Peru's actually done quite well to get control of this compound. They've got a slight man advantage. There are a lot of people knocked, so those numbers might be a little bit misleading. But the problem for Peru is, where do they go from here? You know, they have the control of the northern side of the compound, but they can't get out. They can't go outside the warehouse because they get shot from the hill. Yes, they're getting these kills, but I'm very nervous for their long-term future.
Circle just gotta end inside the compound.
Imagine that. It just ends in the warehouse.
That's the play. That's what they were playing for. And it, well, let's see if it's going to work out for them. They have the numbers right now. They have forced all of the Paraguayan. What do you say? Paraguayan players down the hill to try and reclaim what once was theirs. But seems like they're holding off pretty well right now.
And at least by numbers, Peru looks to be doing quite well. But you know, we keep saying that hilltop is going to become really important. But if you lose so many players, that it doesn't mean, you know, you go down by like 10 players. If it's 25 to 15, let's say, even that hilltop's not going to sway that back in your favor. So Paraguay needs to find a big gunfight soon, or it's going to get a bit unassailable for them. And Peru's really just going to take map 1.
Let's see. Jan is on the outside of the wall. Doesn't seem like he really wants to peek over. It's one of those, I don't want to, but you kind of have to. Jabri is going to fall as well. Trying to make a push, not going to work out.
So many knocks.
Still in their favor. But as you can, I mean, as you guys probably know, out there watching, the knocks are not counted. So, so the player losses might be higher. Having said that, I'm not seeing a lot of Peruvian knocks. So they might actually have the 24 people up they say they do.
Yeah, that's the one big benefit of having that hard cover, right? Being in the buildings means that if you do get knocked, you can just get res, right? All these players from Paraguay that are trying to run down from the hill, if they get knocked down, there's no way out. You know, they were running down, they get shot, and someone else trades the kill. Well, but now Peru's starting to come out. They've recognized how big their kill advantage is, right? You know, how big their man advantage is, and now they can just start taking 1v1s. As long as they're trading their kills, there's not really any way Paraguay can win this.
Exactly. Arctic was one of the first ones to initiate the battle earlier as well. He's still here, trying to make a play. He hasn't found a kill yet, but he sure is aggressive. A front runner who isn't afraid of risking his life for the greater good of the team. Let's see. No, not able to find the kill there either.
Yeah, it's still like every time the Paraguayans get a knock, Peru's just coming in and trading it. They're holding their ground just about, but it's not enough. They need to try and get more kills. They need to get more flushes as well, because there's so many reses coming in on Peru's favor. But that kill feed is looking very Paraguayan right now, and they're starting to clear out this eastern edge.
Yeah, they are holding off pretty well. Maybe Peru is getting a little greedy because, I mean, theoretically, they did have the circle here. It's all the Paraguayan players who are forced to make the push forward, right? But they don't have they don't have to push up here. They're doing it anyway, but they're losing a lot of players in doing so.
Yeah, but eventually that man advantage is just still playing in favor of Peru. You see, they're starting a little bit of a comeback, and that's a big nade. It should get 3 players down. Or was it a little bit too far? Just gets away. But those players not long for this world, I don't think.
Nah, we'll see. Still a pretty damn decent advantage for Peru. There are players down on both sides. Actually, a couple of knocks there for Peru, so the numbers might be a little misleading. 6 bullets left for MG. That's the next issue you get, right? If you didn't have time to loot a whole lot, then it's going to be hard to win those battles if you have to start throwing pans.
It kind of feels like you have these waves where Peru is on the advantage and they get a couple knocks, and then they over-aggress to try and flush the kills. And then Paraguay gets a couple kills, and every time it just goes back and forth. But ultimately, I think that crash onto the compound, the sheer overwhelming numbers that they had in that compound where they pretty much cleared it out, was the reason why they were able to get such a massive man advantage. And eventually, Peru closes the game out 1-0 to them.
Yep. There you go. 20 people stayed alive as they claim the win on Erangel. A game that I didn't at first think they were going to have an easy time with, especially when we saw how Paraguay started spreading out. They had full control of circles, as we talked about earlier, went in their favor. But Peru, once they said 3-2-1, the warehouse is ours, they committed to it, and it paid off.
Yeah, I was very nervous for them when they made that crash. Right? You're coming into a compound where you've probably got like 10, 15 people shooting at you, but they were able to make it work. They got that foothold in the warehouse, as you said, and from there, able to clear out the compound. They didn't really lose any players doing it, which I was really surprised by. Like, I was expecting the players in the compound to, get the 1s, get the 2 kills every now and then. But every time, Peru was there getting the trade. So a really nice bit of teamwork, which, given the fact that there's 32 players making one crash, the fact that they were able to stay pretty coherent as a team was quite incredible.
Yeah, really, really was. It's always difficult, especially to get the info across probably when there's so much happening. We've talked to different generals over the last seasons of play here, and they always say the same. It can be damn messy and confusing. So keeping clear comms can get you a long way, and seems like that must have been at least a good part of them for Peru, at least saying 3, 2, 1, let's crash, because it seemed like a very coordinated attack when they did decide to engage.
Yeah, based on what we saw from there, I'm a little bit nervous about Paraguay for these next 2 maps, because every single gunfight we saw really was just going in Peru's favor. Paraguay got a couple knocks here or there, but every time they were unable to flush the kills out. Every time Peru stepped in, got the trades, got the reses back up, and that's why eventually it was just such a one-sided game. They had the advantage in the compound, and they just weren't able to turn that into a kill advantage, and weren't able to turn that into a win.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I thought with the circle settings alone, they were going to get it, but that wasn't enough. They will fall 1-0. Of course, do remember it is a best of 5, so there's plenty more games coming your way. We're going to take a short break, and then we'll be back in just a moment. Welcome back, everyone, to Nations Royale. I'm Toby, joined by Saint, and we just witnessed what I thought was going to be a pretty one-sided affair, where the ship then turned completely, and Peru managed to get themselves ahead 1-0 as we head over to Miramar in just a moment. But before we get there, Saint, any closing remarks on what we saw from the previous map?
Well, we spoke about the importance of that compound at the start of the game, right? We said that was the position where I think most of your hopes in the game would revolve around. And we saw like Paraguay get in there early. They put like 5 or 6 players in there, maybe a couple more. But Peru was just able to run over the players that were in that compound. And the fact that they got control of it and were then able to shut Paraguay out from getting back in meant that they were just in such a better position overall.
Exactly. Things didn't seem to go their way. They were running each other over. They were doing a lot of things wrong, but they also did a lot right in order to get themselves the win. And look at the kills coming in. I want to take more of a look towards Paraguay. There was just nothing.
No,
wow,
it wasn't great. And generally speaking, when you're getting crashed in the compound, you're at an advantage, right? You're in the hard cover. You're shooting people as they drive in. So the fact that they were not really able to get any kills from that was surprising and a little bit disappointing for me. But also, if you look at Peru, we've spoken so many times on the broadcast so far about how important it is for everyone to have an impact. But really, in this game 1, it was about that individual performance. Only 14 of the players actually got kills.
I mean, to be fair, I think the first line of people that pushed in were kind of gun fodder, you know? I mean, they were kind of just the meat shield, and then the people that came in later were the ones who managed to get something done. When that whole scenario played out, I saw Paraguay with people inside. I saw Paraguay with people on the front line of the forest there. I just thought they were perfectly positioned to hold off, and it just never happened. So now we head on over to Miramar, and once again, similarly to the last game, we'll see Paraguay jump out very early on and take South control.
And it looks like they're being fairly well behaved in terms of splitting up, in terms of not dropping on each other by about a couple players around Impala. It's very different to what we sort of used to now on at least season 3. Season 2 was fairly gentlemanly, as everyone sort of let each other loot, left each other alone until phase 3. But so far in Nations Royale, we've seen so many early gunfights happen. We've seen some teams get to phase 2 with less than 20 alive. It's been ridiculous.
Has been pretty crazy. Now let's see. Kagi, he is going to be the main info gatherer as he jumps behind enemy lines. I'm not sure exactly what he's doing that far north, but he is on a journey, and oh my lord, that's an interesting circle.
I'll tell you what, Toby, we saw this exact circle in Thailand. I think it was Thailand versus Indonesia. And you know the red brick building to the west of Puerto Paraiso, 40-something people died inside that building. It was crazy. It was one of the longest continuous gunfights I've ever seen in a PUBG matchup. It was insane. So I'm kind of excited if we head back over there again and have pretty much the exact same gunfight happen out, because it was crazy to watch.
Yeah, that's that I'm looking at Peru and thinking that strategy they tried last game, that might come in handy again this game, because
do you just do the same thing?
They need to send it somewhere. They need to get looted up quickly, find a hell of a lot of vehicles, and send it.
I mean, you're looking at this and you're thinking Paraguay has first dibs on all the good compounds, right? Imagine that. Imagine we got an island ending. It's unlikely, but it is possible.
It is interesting circle settings, so there is a chance.
I wouldn't be surprised if we found a way to increase the chances of island ending. But
oh yeah, that would be fun.
You'd think Paraguay can set up in this circle and put themselves an advantage, but we said the same thing last game, and Peru were just able to run them over. So
yeah,
I want to see a better hold from Paraguay this time. I want to see them stack more on those compounds and do a better job of holding on to them.
I mean, they're going to have to. It's pretty simple. They, in my book, or at least on paper, they kind of threw away. Not an easy win, because it's always difficult, especially in these type of formats, but a very doable win. I don't think, I mean, now we don't know how the rest of the games are going to play out, but I don't think they're going to have as big of an advantage terrain and circle-wise as they did in the last game. So I hope they'll be able to make something of it in this and all the games to come.
Yeah, I think if I showed you that, like phase 2 in isolation, you just stuck the map on the wall and said, what was the percentage chance of Paraguay winning this game out from that position? You'd say it was probably like a 75-25 game in Paraguay's favor.
Not even more than that.
But it was actually just a blowout for Peru, because they were just able to run straight through the Paraguayan team. So I mean, there's still a chance.
None of us expected it, so it kind of worked out on us too, right? We were all saying, play the field,
exactly,
and then they just sent it.
They just had to go for the crash, and maybe that's what you have to do in a thing like this. I mean, it reminds me of Russia and how they played, particularly on Vikendi in that game against Hungary that we saw in EMEA earlier, where they didn't care about the circle, they didn't care about playing it slow and getting nice positions. They just picked a gunfight and just crashed it.
And in the end, it worked out pretty damn well. Peru, they're getting themselves looted up. They don't seem to be too much in a hurry, despite the circle having gone down towards the south. And, well, I mean, sometimes if you're really close to it, you go, okay, let's make a move. And sometimes if you're really far away, you go, you know what? I mean, we're not next to it anyway. Might as well just take a little extra time to get that extra first aid, get some more bullets. Maybe we saw players last game who pretty much were down to the last mag before the fight came to an end. So maybe just find yourself some more bullets too. That could come in handy.
In like a more traditional format, you kind of want to be really quick to phase 1, because you have 15 or 31 other teams if you're playing duos that you're racing to get into a good position against. So that phase 1 is really important for setting a tone for the rest of your game. But in this, I mean, you're only against one other team. So if you're the team that's not got the circle, you might as well just make sure you've got the right guns, make sure you've all got scopes and DMRs, and put yourself in the best position to win any gunfights that you do take in the future, because you just will be at a disadvantage coming into the circle. You need to try and balance the odds a bit.
Gonna be tricky. I'm curious. I mean, so had we started on Miramar, and this was what we saw, has this been the first game? I would already now have started saying, yep, that's going to be Paraguay. They got this. They have the circle, this and that, and this and that. But I'm genuinely curious now to see what Peru are planning on doing, because I'm just waiting for the full arrowhead breach somewhere. Oh, there's no room for more people in that car. That's unfortunate.
I'm kind of thinking the play right now for Peru is to just get a big group and just send it down the eastern coast and get into the city.
Allow it down.
Yeah, get Puerto Paraiso, get the compound that's just on the hill above that little city, and that position, generally speaking, is what
I just saw.
I hope so.
The cameraman with 180. I think we just saw a glider, and no one took it. Now, if that's not an info gatherer, then I don't know what is.
You just get your scout planes up. It
is a glider. It is a glider.
Get someone in it right now. Oh. I think we should give extra points for glider use. If getting kills from gliders.
Can we for Nations Royale exclusive? Can we get blimps? like 15 people blimps.
I'll just get 32 people blimps while you're at it. Just have everyone in one big blimp in the sky.
It's gonna go full Hindenburg, but just a blimp, that would be That'd be kind of interesting. Or just a glider that fit more than 2 people. I guess that's called a plane, right?
Yeah, I suppose. But it looks like Peru is going for that game plan that we think is the play. You know, get around to this Puerto Paraíso area, get behind the front line of Paraguay, and take control of that hard cover. And I mean, the entire Peruvian team's going to do it. So
yep. Let's see.
There's
Next
the circle.
circle. Centers on the city as well. And yeah, that's right now. You know that the highway is open. Right now, you know that it's open. You got to send it. You got to full speed send it down that path, and before it closes off. And to be fair, looking at how Paraguay is playing it, I don't see them trying to close it off at all.
Yeah, it definitely feels like the highway to hell. But right now, Peru seems to be the demons in control. If they can take control of that red brick that is right underneath for the cameraman, take control of the silos to the west as well. I really think they're going to be the favorites coming into this, because these hardcover positions are, generally speaking, where the circle goes. Generally speaking, the positions that will get you to that late game, and also it will sort of reverse the odds. You know, we saw Paraguay had such a good position in phase 1, but they weren't able to shut down this eastern coast, and that's just allowed Peru to take the best part of the circle.
Oh, did that vehicle fall further? Yep. How did what?
I'm not sure what's going on there.
You eyed, mate?
You good, bro?
People dying to blue?
Yeah, it's about fortunate.
Good thing Mr. Medic is there to help. Should be able to get them back on their feet. Tesla went down as well, but Tesla prevails. Tesla will be back on his feet, I hope, and they'll be able to make their way further forward.
It kind of feels like Paraguay are just completely unaware of where Peru are right now. You know, they're spreading out on the map, but they've got these solo players that are running off to try and get a bit of information, and Peru's just snuck in the back lines. It kind of feels like Paraguay was setting up to control sort of that northwestern side, right, to try and stop Peru from getting in, and they've just completely forgot that there's this massive highway on the eastern coast. Ooh.
What the
F? Free loot, I suppose.
Yeah, might as well get looted up when you're there anyway. I mean, I'm not sure. It seems to me like there might have been some ping issues. I'm not sure exactly. Well, it was the same guy who was standing AFK for a while up in Minas and Morales. So I think it might have been the issue. One more falls as well. That's probably 2 players then having internet issues. New circle pops as we head further. I guess we go a little further up towards the north, actually, from the city. So it might not be ending inside the city, but a little further up towards the hills. And I would have to expect that, yep, you can see people shooting already now. The fights would have to commence at some point soon.
And the circle's gone completely on top of Peru. So those compounds now are such a strong position. And all of a sudden, Paraguay is the one at a big disadvantage. The fact that they weren't able to take control of that area of the map that is so important on these circles means that they're going to be in a rough spot. And we did actually see the team that didn't have the compound was the one that won in the Thailand versus Cambodia game. But that was more because there was such a mismatch in the sort of the gun skill of the teams, right? Thailand is the team from Southeast Asia. So they were that was a reason why they won. It wasn't because not having the compound was a strong point. And this realistically, from game 1, Peru were the team with a better gun skill, right? So the fact that they also now have circle control makes me very nervous for Paraguay's future.
Yeah. Peru. They're looking around. They're not looking to go aggressive. I kind of like that. They're actually allowing for Paraguay to come to them. I think they're satisfied, like well satisfied with where they're positioned right now.
Yeah, they've got a bit of a Maginot line set up, and this time there's no Netherlands, so it's going to be very rough for the Paraguayans to find a way in. They need to maybe get some initial knocks on this western side, and they can try and isolate that group around the silos, because the red brick house can't really help out. But even then, it's going to be such a rough push. You're still fighting like 10 or 15 players.
First aid used. I love those moments. You only really get them in this game mode where you see one guy, you start shooting at him, and then as he turns around, all of a sudden 7 people peek over there and you go, ah! And you have to run off immediately. And
it kind of feels like you're being shot by a minigun because there's just so many bullets flying over your head.
A minigun SLR, could you imagine? That sounds extremely scary.
PTSD.
M4, he's been running. I was just going to say he's been running the blue for a while. Now he's actually knocked as well. Unfortunate. Circle includes pretty much everyone. And as you were saying, there's an imaginary front line. You can pretty much draw the line straight north to south and see it. But it's going to be a two-way fight in terms of having some people inside the city, some people on the hills. This could go either way.
Yeah, but it's still that hard cover is so much more in favor of Peru than is Paraguay. And Paraguay are in the ditches. They're kind of relying now on the circle pulling away from those buildings, right? because if it does go towards those houses,
Yeah.
then it's going to be very hard to push in. But the one sort of saving grace is that those silos are really exposed once you get a sort of wraparound on it. You know, there's no cover inside, obviously you can't go inside the silos. Ooh, that's a nice nade. Didn't quite get a knock though. I think he got protected by the car.
Damage.
It went inside the wheelbase, I think, of the car.
Exactly.
Well, that's unfortunate.
Arctic again, the front runner, to try and see if he can get some damage in there. Oda is up here as well. I think he's well aware that his neighbors aren't exactly friendly. He's going to try and lob an 8 up there and see if he can find anything with it. Has one more in hand. Wait for the explosion.
See it. Oh.
Black, hello? Shoot.
Okay. Left click, please.
Yes. Hello?
You have 2 buttons on your mouse. Odar's found one of them. Gets the free kill.
I don't want to say miscommunication, but maybe lack thereof. They're just allowing to get killed.
Yeah, Jeff is chasing. He should be able to get the trade. Is he going to get the trade? Yeah, just about. Gets the kill in the end. But I'm not sure what's going on right now.
Oh, seemingly a lot of miscommunication.
You can't roll through those ones, mate.
Oh, there we go. Gotta get out
yes,
the big
window. And it looks like they're safe as well. The Peruvian scouts have been cleared out for now, so Paraguayans are gonna be okay. They've got that southern control. They've got a bit of Paraiso in their favor now. He just hit that shot. But a 2x. A 2x.
It's an MK14.
Yeah, but a 2x. And he got a headshot. It's ridiculous. A lovely shot from Lyrical.
Great shooting. Peru showing that it ain't all done yet just because they're down by 3 players. Still only have 12 bullets left, so that's unfortunate to have an MK14 and not be able to use it. Maybe he'll be able to find some ammo here, though. Let's see. Is he going to reload? Was it a friendly player with some 7.62 to share? The fact
Has he got a bit of scope? Because if he can do that with the 2x, I'm thinking he's going to be strong with a 4.
Maybe a scope 2. That wouldn't be the worst game.
Yeah. But for now, a little bit of a calm before the storm moment, right? Everyone's in the circle. Not necessarily in the greatest positions, but no one's sort of being forced to take a gunfight. And this is perhaps the time where, like, if you go back to that Erangel match, Peru didn't have to take that fight at the compound, but they took it before they had to. And it sort of caught Paraguay off guard. It caught Paraguay in a position where they didn't quite have the defensive line set up. And that really was why Peru were able to win that match out. So I want to see a bit of proactive aggression from Paraguay right now. They've got into the silos that we were talking about. They've made that push, but now, well, actually, with this circle, they can probably just set up. If they can get a good defensive line.
I like how we're constantly keeping it even. The circle's trying to find the midpoint between the 2 teams and just bloop, hop right on there.
Yeah, because occasionally in Nations Royale, you just see a circle that just hard shifts from one side. Yeah. And just, like, not say gifts the win, but it makes it much more likely that one team's going to win than the other. Whereas both teams have a pretty solid foothold in the zone. So it's all about now who can win those straight gunfights.
Couldn't agree more. It's going to be very skill dependent, the outcome of this one. I mean, and so far, I mean, other than the first circle, which Peru didn't really seem to mind, went away from them, it's been pretty even in terms of the circle. It's just a matter of now, how do you position? You can see already now all the Peruvian players are making their way inside the circle again to kind of prepare for the fight to come, while some of the players from Paraguay, they're still sitting up there trying to see should there be a push coming or not. But I like the fact that they're backing off and saying, you know what, the fight is yet to come. Let's move inside.
And it definitely feels like Peru want to group up and just go in one like death stack. But right now, Awaken's running over his teammates. That's not what you want to be doing. The rest should be able to come in. But now I think we're going to start to see that sort of final gunfight that is so common happen really around these silos, as Peru looks like they're trying to find a foothold.
If we get a knock or 2 now, that should be the call sign for both teams. You send it. There comes the first knock. There comes the second knock. Let's see if that's going to be the trigger to get the brawl started.
But this is where you don't want to over-aggress, right? You don't want to run around. I think it was actually his teammate shooting up Bitchop, putting him low. So he's going to be able to get the heal in for now. But yeah, this is where Paraguay have to be careful. They don't start running over these ridges and straight into the loving arms of Peru. Because there really isn't any cover once you get over it. And it looks like actually Bitchop's going to hold on. There's like 3 knocked players in the same place now. But it looks like for now everyone's going to get up. So no long-term harm done. And realistically, it feels like Paraguay are backing off, like sort of letting Peru get to the edge.
They didn't want to over-aggress. There's still a lot of players from Paraguay up on the hillsides who aren't really too much of a factor in this potentially upcoming close quarters brawl. Alioska, what can you do to provide for your team? It seems like you can say that's a tricky thing, right? You're running around so much, trying to find the angle But it's just so difficult when you have so many players on your team. Oh, speaking of circles that could go towards one team.
Yeah, now I feel like Peru's just going to collapse on that northwestern side. If they can kill all those players, it doesn't matter how one side of the circle is, in favor of Paraguay. If they can get that much of a man advantage, I kind of feel like they need to take control of those silos area and clear that area out now.
Up, you would think. I mean, there's no way they try to push inside the city. As I said, look at how many people are trying to cross the road already.
I mean, maybe that's the play. Maybe if they can get control of both sides of the road underneath the silos, they have that long-range gunfight from the buildings in Paraiso, combined with that close-range ability that you have by playing under the ridge. Maybe that's a win condition, but I kind of feel like it would be better if they swung on the high ground.
There's a chance. The smokes are thrown. They're trying to make the crossing. It seems like it's going to be possible as well. But remember, it is phase 6. There are a lot of blue players close to the blue. They need to make something happen. It has to happen right now because the circle's already closing in.
And that big crash is happening now, but realistically, there's only 4 or 5 players that are actually in Paraiso for Paraguay, so it's a bit of a mismatch. They need to try and get those trades at least go 1-for-1 to preserve the man advantage for Paraguay, and it's not quite looking that way. They have stepped back in on the kill with Jenin, and actually, Tiglan goes down as well, so maybe there's a chance here that those Paraguayan players can do the work.
Look at the minimap. They've all committed to the city push. They've actually all run down there, Peru. They are getting kills, but they're being held off to some extent. Right now, though, it's just these 3 kills, or the 4 kills, I should say, that are the kills that matter. Don't shoot each other, Kale. That's kind of stupid. It's these 4 kills that are going to be the difference makers, at least in terms of what's going to happen next, because they need to clear the city before they can focus on what's up the hill.
The problem is, yes, you clear that city, but how do you then get across the road? They have no real presence on this western side, and if that circle goes anywhere other than east, it's going to be so hard for them to find their way in.
They used a lot of smokes to cross over. Hopefully they have enough utility to get back on the other side again.
Now, I think really these little sleeper agents on the western edge, the Ali Oscars and Co, I think there's one on the northern side as well. Those players need to start doing damage, need to start opening up some areas for the rest of the Peruvians to get onto this side of the map. Because now they've cleared out the eastern side, they've got nowhere to go.
That's the next joke. Why did Peru cross the street? Because they had to go back again. We'll see in 20 seconds-ish. If that's
going to go hard east now.
Yeah, there's still a chance where, I mean, as long as any part of the road or south side of the road stays in, they should be all right. But as you can see, this is just going to be such a damn tough hill to push up. Let's see now. Will the circle determine the winner? Nope. Both sides stay in.
Yeah, it feels like we're going to have a bit of a trading blows, but one where realistically no one goes down now. And it's all about, does Paraguay keep control of this high ground in that next phase? Oh, that's a lot from Malioska. Can he get 3? He's going to get 3. Wow. He's got 3 knocks. That's going to be 3 kills as well. Pushing that man advantage. Okay. Pushing that man advantage. He's eager today. But yeah, they get all 3 kills. So the man advantage swinging in Peru's favor, clearing out that little western contingent.
And not only that, but he could potentially allow for teammates to push over to help him out. That is huge, because now all of a sudden, if you're Paraguay, you don't know anymore. Like, was he alone? Was there 1 more? Was there 2 more? Was there 3 more? You have no idea. So now you have to play really cautious to the west side as well.
And I'm pretty sure there's a BRDM hiding around those houses on the eastern side. So that's 6 players you can get to the other side and probably survive. But if Alioska can just go in and get a couple more kills, then he's going to be loving it. There it is.
There it is.
Throw a bunch of players in there and go join in.
I don't think that's the play, just given how easily you can blow them up with so many players in the hilltop. But you never know.
If you have, like, let's say 10 players looking towards the hill and the other 6 drive over, realistically, you can get quite a few knocks whilst they're like over peaking to blow up the vehicle.
It's also very much in line of sight of the entire Paraguay team.
Oh, oh no. Alioska's been knocked by his own teammate.
Arlon P.
Tried to make the winning play.
No bueno. That was not good.
Right, he's dropped. Look, Elefon after game. But the push is coming in.
That is so unfortunate. Look at that. They would have been 3 over here, potentially with the chance to make a play now. That's not going to happen at all. That is so unfortunate. Now it's going to be Peru trying to potentially push up. Let's see. WhatsApp down the hill. What can he do? Not a whole lot, it seems. He's all on his own. Trying to maybe see if they can get a bit of a footing for a circle that could potentially shift north.
Yeah, WhatsApp coming over the hill is Paraguay. It's not a monster this time, but yeah, 3-man advantage in Peru's favor. But realistically, the circle advantage is in Paraguay's favor. That high ground is so important. And WhatsApp will at least be able to get a res in. I think Alioska's not long for this world. Yeah, there we go. The flash is coming. A little bit unfortunate, but this circle is still pretty 50-50.
Yeah, but they have to go up. If they can go up and sit underneath that hill now and just wait for them to have to jump down, because if they get control where you see WhatsApp is right now, if they can control that, they have so much circle percentage that you'd have to think they could win it. But it's going to be damn difficult to kind of make it last that long, because the circle is going to start closing in 20 seconds. So, I mean, they need to stay alive for quite a while. Oh, nade. The only area where it didn't do any damage to anyone.
It feels like they have enough players on this ridge now that as long as they can survive and get these picks, then there is a chance. And they are getting the kills. The kills are going the way of Peru right now.
Just you don't have to over push it. Just make enough room that your teammates from inside the city can push up, and that's exactly what's happening right now. You can see all of them starting to just send it across the road. They know they've had a foothold, and now Paraguay, it's on you to try and hold them off.
Yeah, but the trades are finally coming in Paraguay's favor. They're pushing that man advantage back towards them. A swinging momentum right now. If they can just get those flushes in, make sure you've got the ghost man advantage. But it's just chaos now. Everyone's lighting each other up. We've got knocks all over the place. Probably 4 or 5 players down on either side. But it definitely feels like Peru in the ascendancy right now.
Yeah, Peru, they again have circles going against them, but I gotta say, coordinated teamwork. I mean, Alioska up on the top early. Unfortunately, that he gets killed by a teammate, but great play to open up a side that where nothing was really possible before that. It's still close. It's not over just yet. We are seeing knocked players. Fortunately, they're getting back up on their feet. It's not done just yet, but you have the entirety of the Paraguay team pushed up in a corner. 8 versus 5. Make that 4.
Yeah, this is where if Peru has any utility, they could just nade upstairs. They can throw Molotovs inside, and there's not really anything Paraguay can do.
2 alive, 1 alive, and there they fall. A close one, which had Paraguay as the victors to some extent, but in the end of it, it's going to be Peru that brings home game number 2.
Yeah, it was a fairly one-sided. Like, it felt one-sided, but then you look at the fact that there's only 4 alive or 5 alive for Peru in the end, and you think, well, actually, this was a really close game. Like, it felt so much different to how it actually played out.
Yeah, I agree to some extent. It was a pretty interesting endeavor all the way through. I mean, I just really liked how Peru played around them. Not really. I mean, they did something that you don't really see a whole lot of in this game. They played circles ahead.
Yeah.
People don't really do that in Nations Royale. They say, "Oh, there's a circle. Let's go there. There's a circle. Let's go there."
Yeah, you sort of know.
Yeah, exactly. How can we position ourselves for the next circles to come? And they did that really well.
And at least when you look at like the more traditional squads format, generally speaking, that area around Paraguay is where you want to go. And the fact that Peru sort of recognized that, we should probably just go take control of that area. And it actually worked out. Yes, they got forced off from the silos, but the fact that they got so many players into the circle early on was really why they were able to turn this into a, albeit a close one, it was still a late area win, and it was still a win to put them up 2-0.
Great game, which now puts us into a triple match point situation for Peru. If they can take home Sanok, then it should be theirs to win, when they will be going up against Argentina next, which is going to be a damn tricky one. And that we'll take a look at how that's going to plan out, but that's going to be after the break. We'll see you guys again real soon. Welcome back, everyone. 2-0 Peru over Paraguay. It seems like whatever Paraguay tries to throw in the face of Peru, Peru stands strong in the end. First one was a pretty clear win in the way of Peru's last game, though not quite so. Only, I believe, 8 players on the feed alive. I think it was more like 5 or 6 because they had a few players knocked too. Luke, take me through that one.
Yeah, it was a lot closer than game 1, which I think is a credit to Paraguay that they were able to more successfully approach that circle. But realistically, when they had that phase 1, it was such a strong circle for them, and they maybe didn't think ahead in terms of where those sort of circles usually go. We tend to see them around Paraguay, and the fact that Peru recognized they could get across that eastern coast and get to the area that we saw the circle end in so early on was ultimately what got them the win.
Exactly. Let's see the leaderboard. As you can see, pretty well spread out. If you look over the likes of Peru, we are hitting 24 players. That has managed to kill-wise impact the game on the side of Paraguay. It's actually better than I thought it was going to be, but of course there were a lot of kills that are going both ways that last game. 17 players have found kills on the side of Paraguay, but a lot of them only with one of them.
Yeah, and there's still those nearly half the team that's not able to have that kind of impact on the game, and ultimately, you need to get 32 kills a game to win them. So if you've got half your team not having an impact in that sense, then at the end of the day, you're just not going to win matches.
Exactly. Let's see. We are headed over to a Wrangle. I was going to say Sanok, and well, we've seen how big of landslides Sanok matches can be every now and again. I'm curious to see how this one will pan on out.
Yeah, I'll take us back to SEA where we had the Thailand versus Cambodia game. We saw a bit of a cluster of boot camp, which I think we might be getting again, which ultimately handed the initial advantage in Cambodia's favor. They won it out in the end, but Thailand came back from I think a 6 or 7 kill deficit to turn it around with a bit of an incredible fight around the rocks just south of Paradise. So I'm excited to see first off what happens in boot camp, and then second off whether that team that doesn't have the advantage coming out is able to bring it back.
Yeah, I cannot see any names, and I think it says 32 versus 31. It's really interesting. But I can see this says Paraguay. There's a red logo as well, and we are having somewhat of a brawl down in. I'm saying somewhat. There's a massive brawl going on down in boot camp.
It's like half the circle right now, but ultimately Paraguay has the man advantage, and they're getting the early kills as well. They've already got 4 in their favor, and there's a couple more players knocked. So it's looking a little bit rough for Peru. Only about 10 players for Peru dropped, whereas it's more like 20 for Paraguay. So that man advantage is just ultimately the thing that's getting them to those initial gunfights. But Peru seem to be striking back. The little sneak attack is getting them a bunch of kills. Can he get a second when he can? Flush the kills out, or just get a third? Why not? Oh, the flush eventually comes in. Japarona saving his teammates' lives. The flushes didn't come in as well, so the reses will come in their favor. But the Peruvian players are managing to hold on. Got 24 to 22 now.
I'm going to be your color cast this game. I can feel it. You provide me some more radio broadcasts. This is amazing. It's like watching PUBG, but if it was made in 1995.
Imagine how bad the game would be. But yeah, we're getting so many knocks.
I'm loving what I'm seeing. It's just the different. It's like a new take. It's like watching PUBG but with different glasses.
But right now, the fight sort of feels equal. Like they're all trading the kills. We saw those little sneak attacks, but ultimately, if you're not getting the flushes, you're not helping your team out. You're not getting those final kills and pushing the man advantage in your team's favor. So the lack of flushes from Peru is really why Paraguay is able to hold on. But ultimately, Paraguay does have that man advantage. So I think they should be able to close out this gunfight in boot camp in their favor.
Peru racking up some more kills as we speak, but a quick return comes in there from the guy with the name starting with J.
Japarona.
It's like this big white smur. It's like watching. It's like playing PUBG, but it's Doom Nukem. It's amazing. I love it. It's actually really interesting. Danny finds himself one, stays alive with minimal HP, and maybe this is the turnaround that Paraguay needs.
Yeah, somehow they've still not got that man advantage, despite having the overall advantage in boot camp. They're losing more players than Peru right now. It feels like the players from Peru that did drop boot camp are more effectively able to get those 2 pieces and get those flushes in. So
are there only a one not in boot camp?
Yeah, I think it was like 2/3 of the server that dropped here, but there are a bunch of Paraguayans in Paradise. Peruvians in Paradise. There's like 10 of them over there. I think a Peruvian dropped on the northwestern island as well. So there's sort of a second wave of Peru that these Paraguayans will have to fight if they can't. Well, if they do manage to make it out of boot camp, and it looks like they will. There's only a couple Peruvian players left on that northern side. But there's still a big opportunity for Paraguay to actually get a kill lead, because Peru somehow is still holding on.
I'm just trying to make the math of who committed the more players inside.
Definitely Paraguay.
It's got to be Paraguay, right? So this is, if not their entire team, then something close to it. And And you know what? Actually, while we were here anyway, while we we're jumping around in Paraguay, let's take a little listen to see how things are panning out for them.
Sí, hay toma todavía.
Excelente, y push.
Sí, eso estaría genial, la
¿Alguien
verdad.
explora una mira longa?
Vengan derecha.
Te sobra una mira longa, ¿ves?
Oh,
Yo estoy contigo, Hilo.
Te sobra la mira longa.
están entrando al galpón
Sí.
de adelante, decirles. 3 en el galpón de adelante a la derecha, hacia la derecha están yendo.
Están entrando a los galpones a la
No,
derecha.
son nuestros socios nomás.
No, estos
Ah,
capes son.
nuestros socios son LOL.
Por el sur de Dios.
Ahí están por acá. Son como 4 cerca del hangar. 5 jugadores.
Well, let's take a look at how things are sounding over at the side of Peru. I heard single. I understand that. That's 5. And then I heard C. That means yes. And I heard something that sounded like Viva la Vida Loca, but I don't think that's what they're
los de
actually
que están
saying.
saliendo recién de Paradise, chicos.
Oh my lord, they're speaking so fast. Oops,
Another Kalito.
that's an oopsie.
Desde ahí,
Come
punta por
on, Peru. A little bit of a lul in the chat. No? No laughs? It's all serious face for Peru. It's all serious face for Peru as they try and see if they can turn this into a win. They have managed to get quite a few players out of this area, and they are, as you can see now, getting the backup of their friends coming down from Paradise Resort.
Holiday's over for them.
Do you push into this now, or do you just wait for them to come out?
I think you just sort of set up, right? Because the circle is, I think, a little bit shifted north. I mean, they are in, I think they're in phase 1 here. Admittedly, I've been so focused on this fight that I've forgotten where the circles are gone. But I don't think it's worth pushing in, right? You've done quite well to not have a man disadvantage coming out of this, given the extra pressure from having more Paraguayans and Peruvians, and somehow Peru is holding on to that kill lead really well. You know, it's only one player,
right?
Yeah, but it's only one player. But they've kept that kill lead just at that level for now. And if they could just keep trading now to the end of the game, ultimately they will win.
I'll see if they will. It could be the map that throws Paraguay out of the tournament. Peru already ahead 2-0. If you didn't get a chance to watch him, you can go back and watch the VOD. Peru finds one more. It seems like they don't want to sit around and wait. They are running back into the land that was lost just before, but this time they come with reinforcements.
Yeah, I'm surprised they're going for the push, but it does seem to be working. Arctic's just running in and getting kills for free. He gets a flush as well, so pushing the man advantage once again up. The trade eventually comes in once again in, as Arctic sort of baited him a little bit. But I'm surprised Peru's going for the push, coming into the boot camp, which realistically, if you're pushing something that's got this many angles on it, it's going to be a bit of a rough one. But it kind of feels like both teams have forgotten what game they're playing, and they're just going for the straight-up gunfight rather than playing PUBG.
Might as well. It's there's this thing where when you land in boot camp, you just automatically become like a slaughter machine, you know?
Yeah. I kind of feel like
everything.
we're not going to see 10 minutes in this game. It definitely feels like both teams are just committing to the boot camp fight, committing to get the game over right here. And right now, it definitely feels like Peru are the one in the ascendancy.
The pride of Sanok is boot camp. Oh, you gotta shoot, mate. You gotta shoot. You gotta control that explosive spray too. That's unfortunate. Left click is shoot. Now he knows.
Well, maybe he's rebounded to middle mouse and forgot.
Ooh, that's unfortunate. I remember. I don't know who it was. I once heard it was like before PUBG was a pro thing. I had a guy who liked to shoot with spacebar.
I'm going to make you very ill by saying this. I used to do that in CSGO.
But it makes absolutely no sense.
I always have the idea that by pressing another button on your mouse, you would make your recoil worse. So I was one of the few people that used to do it, where the only button on your mouse you'd use is like right click if you're an AWP, and you just shoot the spacebar.
Makes no sense. Either way, Peru seems like they've been somewhat of a lockdown. Yeah, we've seen enough of it already. Don't shoot your teammates. Nope, it's still your teammate. That was just a "stop shooting me" shut that came in return. You know, when they can't communicate together, it's one of those no, stay away. And well, it's not looking good if you are on the side of Paraguay right now. I had to commit to one res, couldn't get both of them. Here comes the pusher on the side. The buff UMP comes in handy, and they find even more.
And somehow Peru's turned this into what initially looked like a bit of a rough one with the the extra players from Paraguay dropping into boot camp, they've somehow turned it into a 6-kill lead. And there are so many Paraguayan players knocked. It kind of feels like Peru just have the better gun skill. You know, they're in terms of mechanically, they're a much better team. And I think that's what we're seeing right here. It's just, even though Paraguay maybe had a better idea by committing more players, the sheer gun skill from Peru has pushed it in their favor.
This looks like it's gonna come to an end shortly. But then, having said that, they are still continuing to kill one another, and well, there might just be maybe not. Might just be a chance. I don't want to say it's over till it's over, though. Again, we have seen some crazy comebacks before. Will this be it, though? I am not sure.
You know, they say it's not over till the fat lady sings, but right now I'm hearing a faint voice on the wind. It definitely feels like
crescendo build up. That's slowly coming to an end.
It definitely feels like this is
yeah, there's already knocked players on the side of Paraguay. They need to put together somewhat. I mean, I can see that there are 2 knocked players. Thank you. And it's a 3v. Is it 12 or 18?
Make that 2. It is 12. It is 12.
2v12.
Yeah.
6 kill each.
That's doable.
Well, I've killed more than 6 people in boot camp before. It's not impossible.
I rarely join boot camp, so I don't think I actually have. But, yeah, there's. I mean, they got the res, so only 4 kills each now.
Yeah.
Make it easier by the second. And if they're going to run in 1 by 1 like Arctic's trying here, then maybe there is that possibility. But
yeah, you never know.
Not if he's just going to get the kills.
That is a fair point. There's the Groza too, so I might as well try and see if you can make use of it. Here comes the rest. They found one. There's just a few more left to find. There is a player knocked as well. Won't be able to get back on his feet. There falls one. Just 2 more left. You got to land the shots. That's one of them. Another 11 to go.
Yeah, I mean, this is a start, but I mean, there's 2 players left. There's 12 Peruvians.
Every comeback starts with the first knock, right? Now we just need more. And no.
Never mind.
Not going to happen. Paraguay are out. 3-0 is going to be the score in the favor of Peru. What a hell of a performance by them. They were in situations 2 games in a row, in my opinion, where they did not have the circles. I mean, okay, this game was a little different because they all just committed to bootcamp. I like to see it, but this was a very hard fought win for Peru. And I want to say, I mean, had this been Argentina with the circle advantages that Paraguay had, I don't think it would have been as clean for Peru as it ended up being.
Yeah, but we did say at the start that Peru, last time out in Nations Royale Season 2, they got to the quarterfinals. So, you know, they were a pretty decent team. And this time being one of 4 LATAM teams playing in Nations Royale, they're definitely one of the favorites to make it through. Obviously, the next, the beast of Argentina they have to play against next, which is pretty stacked. But the fact that they made it through this round in such convincing fashion sort of makes me quite confident for their future, you know, in the tournament. For their next game, I think it's going to be a lot closer than this one was.
Yes, because I mean, without knowing a lot of the players, I do know quite a few of them. I think I can say without hurting anyone's feelings that Argentina is a more, we can use the word competitively experienced team as a whole than a lot of the Paraguay players were. So I'm curious to see how the fights will go there. Is it going to be a landslide the other way? We saw what happened now, right, in EU earlier today, where Hungary were the ones to go out and beat Poland to then get 3-0 by Russia. So who knows? Maybe Argentina is just sitting there ready and waiting to get the wins. Let's take a look at the brackets and see exactly how today's games have panned on out. So Peru, they have made their way forward. Chile has bested Mexico as well, as they'll be heading up against Brazil. That's going to be a good fight too. And then as you can see down the line, there are more matches to come. We are covering this for the next 2 weeks. So of course, plenty of Nations Royale coming your way.
And it's worth pointing out the Paraguay aren't out of the tournament yet. They're just going down to the lower brackets. They have another chance. They are going to play the loser of that Brazil and Chile game, which, I mean, you're probably expecting that to be Chile, realistically speaking. But, you know, they have another chance to make it through and to work their way through that lowest bracket and get to the later matches.
Exactly. That's going to be it for now. We are going to cover the next match as well. Those do stick around. We're going to take a short break and then we'll be back and ready with more Nations Royale in just a moment.